Good morning, everybody. Bon matin. Mon nom est Jennifer Carr et je suis fière d'être la présidente de l'Institut professionnel de la fonction publique du Canada. Mes pronoms sont elle, she, her. Je reconnais que notre rencontre a lieu à Georgia, Montréal, sur le territoire autochtone non cédé de Ganogeha, où les membres de la nation Mohawk. Georgia, Montréal est lieu de rassemblables de nombreuses Premières Nations et nous reconnaissons que les Guénagaha sont les gardiens des terres et des eaux sur lesquelles nous nous réunissons aujourd'hui. La translation ne marche pas? You want me to talk slower? I'll do it all over in English. Well, this will be a bilingual completely. I acknowledge that we are on the Georgia Nation territory, which belongs to the Goganeha, or members of the Mohawk Nation. I recognize that we are gathering today on the lands of the First Nations people, and the Gaganaha are the guardians of the earth and the waters on which we are assembled today. Somebody can tell me when translation's back up, or I'll go both languages. I'm so honored to be here, and better yet, I'm so honored that you are here. Merci beaucoup à la ville qui nous accueille aujourd'hui, Montréal, et merci à tous les personnels et membres qui ont organisé cet événement. Thank you to the members and to the staff who have organized this fantastic event. It's great to be here in person this year. The energy, the networking, the personal connections, they're always better when we aren't stuck behind a computer screen. But I want to acknowledge that the COVID pandemic is not over. As a leader, I ask that you consider masking up this weekend, that you consider the current state of our healthcare, of our emergency room departments, of our ICU units, especially those that are pediatric. En tant que leader, je vous demande de penser à porter le masque ce week-end. Pensez à l'état actuel de notre soins de santé, de nos services d'urgence, nos unités de soins intensifs, et en particulier les unités de soins intensifs pédiatres. So if for those who don't speak French, it's the exact same. We're good for translation, okay. I ask that you think of the healthcare workers and those that we represent in this room. And I want you to think about your fellow members who, or may, have families that are immunocompromised. Je sais que ce n'est pas agréable de porter un masque, mais je vous en prie de demander à penser à ceci plutôt qu'un masque de confort. I'm asking you to consider this all over the comfort and inconvenience of wearing a mask. The last two virtual AGMs were difficult. We were dealing with the new format, new rules, long virtual lineups that seemed to be perpetually cut into, frustrating participants, and sometimes even our chair and parliamentarian. But we got through it. Avant notre dernier AGA, j'ai pensé à me présenter à la présidence parce que j'ai été témoin de certains relâchements et de certaines actions avec lesquelles je n'étais pas d'accord. This made me realize it was time for me to step back or to step up. So I stepped up, and you took that step with me, and I am so thankful. Je suis reconnaissante envers le nouveau conseil d'administration qui a se focalisé sur les besoins des membres, qui travaille en équipe pour s'assurer que chaque voix est entendue et qui accepte de respecter tous les points de vue. The board is always willing to step up, to take on new tasks, and is always checking in on me as a leader. I am so thankful for the staff who are embracing this new environment where we are collaborative with the board and are leaning into the chaos with us. I am thankful for the incredible care community which has allowed me to do this work. It's not easy. I'm a single mom. I have 3 kids who are active in sports. From my best friend, Kathy, who acts as a second mom to ensure that my kids are taken care of when I'm away, and I'm away a lot. To my circle of friends who are not in the union movement, they provide me perspective and a safe space to vent. And to my friends who are inside our movement, who provide me with regular and unsolicited encouragement and positivity, thank you. Je suis heureuse de collaborer avec vous tous pour créer un meilleur syndicat, un meilleur Canada. And I'm going to repeat that in English. I'm thankful to be collaborating with all of you to create a better union and a better Canada. I thank you for this wonderful opportunity for us to come together and take stock of the last year and to look to what's coming ahead. I've had the pleasure of meeting with many of you face to face, which is something I'm really proud of. Au cours de l'année, j'ai assisté à nombreux événements partout au Canada. Picture this. It's 5:30 in the morning. It's minus 20 degrees outside. I'm not a morning person. I can't stand the cold. It's pitch black. I'm standing with the employees of the Chalk River Professional Employees Group at their picket line. I was so proud to be there. More than 20 active members and executives stood outside those gates, freezing our butts, to make sure that we are informing our members, as well as anyone entering the complex, that bargaining with the employer had stalled. Like most of us, huh? Over the course of 3 hours, we accomplished 3 radio broadcasts, including the traffic report, and 2 print media. And I'm so proud to say that at the end of that picket line, we were back at the table. Good job, guys. Where are you? During my second week As your president, I had the honor of meeting with all 5 of our Ontario radiation therapist groups in one room. Of course, it was a Zoom room. Hi, Tina. There you go. It was a Zoom room, but it was a room. This is the first time all 5 of those groups had been put together. We were discussing the status of Bill 124 and the wage restraint that restricts them from bargaining their wages. It's capped at 1%. And on the core challenge that Patty referred to, that we were doing in conjunction with the Ontario Federation of Labour and the other Ontario federations and healthcare worker unions. Et le mois dernier, j'ai eu le plaisir de visiter des stations de soins infirmiers dans la communauté isolée des Premières Nations du Nord. Je voulais mieux comprendre la situation critique auxquelles font face nos infirmières dans cette région. It was important for me to bear witness and hear firsthand from our members, the agency staff that replaced them, and the First Nations communities for which we provide health care. I'm really pleased to be able to show you a first cut of a video from my trip up north, and I'd like to share it with you now.
There's a shortage of housing. Most of the homes are overcrowded. As I understand, most of the nurses are pretty much burnt out. We have to close down the clinic, and these people that need care have to have somebody looking after them.
They're constantly being told that what you have is not an emergency, therefore you can wait a few days. That's not how we should be promoting healthcare. There's an amount of dedication that you have to the community, and sometimes it can be exhausting.
My purpose to be here is to be able to make sure that people understand why being a Northern nurse is different than a regular nurse.
We generally know that staff shortages is a reality of the North, but this year has been particularly difficult.
Like what kind of stuff we're treating. It is developing country style of things.
The living conditions, the poverty, the non-drinkable water. It's a different world. It is a different world.
My last community I was in, it's a 6-nurse station and there was 2 nurses. We were on call 24/7 for that 2 weeks.
That's a problem because that's when the nurses get tired. They're working all day clinic hours and then somebody has to be on call all night.
I mean, it doesn't take a genius to figure out that's pretty wildly unsafe for the populations that's getting care from somebody who hasn't slept in 3 days.
Our nursing station, I don't think has ever been in full capacity.
All of these little tiny occupational stress injuries are making it hard just to be able to provide the best care you can.
Our figures say that they outsourced $22 million in nursing services in 2021, and that's a lot of money that could be put back into the public service.
If you can engage unregulated professionals and pay them more than you're paying a 15-year nurse practitioner, what does that tell you?
So, and I'm sure that makes you angry.
Yeah. Oh, it makes me very angry.
And devalued.
My initial plan was to start with agency, find where I like, and then move over. However, everybody that has done that I know, has strongly advised against it, and it's the pay. I come up here, I'm away from my family, I need to make sure I'm paying my bills, or why am I so far away from home?
They have a lot of responsibility here, a huge amount of responsibility as primary care practitioners, and quite often they're the ones who are delivering care when there's no physician in the community. I think that needs to be recognized in their pay scales.
Nous avons besoin d'un plan urgent qui réponde aux besoins de la population du Nord du Canada et qui donne aux travailleurs de la santé qui s'occupent des habitants du Nord le soutien et les ressources dont ils ont besoin de faire le travail.
I actually had nurses call me and cry on the phone because they cannot give you the care that you deserve.
You're away from your family, we're short-staffed, the people are lovely, we service them and we try to do our best, and unfortunately, it's just not good enough.
J'espère que les histoires les images et les perspectives que nous apporterons avec nous inciteront le gouvernement fédéral à prendre des mesures concrètes pour régler ces problèmes. Where are you, my northern nurses? I am so proud to say that this week, the Board of Directors has put aside the resources to take this issue to the next level. The Board of Directors has liberated the President of the Indigenous Service Canada First Nations Inuit Health Branch for the next 6 months to work solely on the issues facing our northern nurses. We have also dedicated a staff resource to help with that work, and you know her as well. She used to be the president of the Indigenous Services Canada. This team is going to be incredible, and we're going to get incredible things done. So on behalf of the board, thank you for stepping up and for helping us get this out. These have all been wonderful experiences, sometimes very emotional. And I'm thrilled to have had the chance to connect with these people. But I'm looking forward to connecting with more of you this weekend and in the future. J'aimerais invoquer et célébrer certaines des victoires de l'Institut cette année. Let's take a moment and look at some of those bigger ones. Remember that information line I told you about? Well, the Chalk River Professional Employees Group, right over there, was able to achieve a 3-year deal with an annual increase of 3.5%. You did that. And while it's a start, it's not the end. For our northern nurses, we were able to triple the amount of their recruitment and retention allowance, as well as making it applicable and prorated to the part-time nurses, which was a huge win. We continue to fight to protect our pensions, like in New Brunswick, where the government changed their defined benefit program to defined contributions, and we are challenging them in court, and that's still continuing. We're not done. We are educating our members about the value of their pensions and that these are deferred wages. 14,400 of our members have taken our webinars so they understand the value of their pension and are prepared to fight to keep them. And like I said, we have joined the Ontario Federation of Labour and the New Brunswick Federation of Labour so that we can better represent the needs of our provincial membership. And as you saw, we are taking a bigger and more proactive part in the larger House of Labour, showing solidarity with education workers of Ontario when Ford enacted Bill 28
to remove collective bargaining rights. Working together this way strengthens our union movement. Et enfin, 7 473 membres ont participé à nos webinaires mensuels dans les sujets tels que le congé pour les personnes adoptées, la compréhension des dispositions, l'intervention des témoins et la santé mentale. And I'm going to repeat that in English because it's important for you to hear. And finally, we have reached 7,473 members via our monthly webinars, which are presented in both official languages, so nos membres francophones ont le droit d'écouter l'information de la langue officielle sans mettre des écouteurs, et je suis très fière de ça. One thing the pandemic did is gave us tools. So all of these webinars are recorded, again, in both official languages, and are available for members after the fact. These participation rates just keep growing. Cela dit, nous savons que nous traversons une période difficile qui pourrait devenir encore plus difficile. 33 of our 48 collective agreements at the Institute will be in various stages of active bargaining next year. In a time when inflation rates continue to soar upwards. The Federal Conservative Party has also elected a leader who doesn't value public service, public sector workers, or unions. We don't want to see what happened in Ontario happen at the federal level. It would be devastating for us and all union movements. Nous devons également nous battre pour continuer de travailler à la domicile. C'est ce que disait la majorité de notre membres. But even though we are facing many challenges, I want you to know that each of these challenges brings with it the possibility for positive change. The Treasury Board is attacking our article on contracting out because it's working. There is a huge opportunity for us to talk about tax fairness. The top 25 companies in Canada have left $30 billion in tax revenue on the table, and that's up for grabs. That's $30 billion that could be used to index our wages to inflation, to ensure that the public services that Canadians depend on are maintained. The fight to be allowed to continue to work remotely has opened up the possibility for a future of work that is more accessible and more equitable. It will help us retain and recruit talent across the country, and not just in city centers. And even though we don't want our members to ever encounter a conflict at work, we also know that this does happen. And it can end up bringing those members closer to our union. And that certainly reflects my own experience in coming into this union. When I first joined the public service in 2002, I was a new mother entering my first job. Technically not true, my first permanent job. I did co-op terms. I soon realized that I was in a toxic work environment. I knew things were not good because every day when I drove into work, my body would start to shake in a traumatic response. I think some of you can relate. J'ai donc contacté mon syndicat, notre syndicat, et j'ai y trouvé un soutien immédiat. So I contacted my union, this union, and found immediate support. I was assigned an employment relations officer, and some of the people in this room may remember her. Her name was Judith King. If you know her, you know her. She was about 4'8". She was a firecracker. She knew her stuff. Unfortunately, she passed away late last year. Judith helped me realize that my experience was not okay. I was taught the role of collective agreements and how I could stand up for my rights. J'ai été appuyée lorsque j'ai déposé un grief et défendu mes droits. Au premier vue, il s'agit d'une expérience négative, mais en réalité, c'est qu'on comprend la valeur de nos syndicats seulement quand on a besoin. On the surface, this is a negative story, but in reality, the reality is that most people don't know the value of the union until they need it. And being supported through that process can really activate people, as it has activated many in this room. I am very thankful for those of you who are here, but we also need to look around and ask ourselves, who isn't here and why not? I think a lot about the fact that if I hadn't felt that there was a place for me in this union, who else might be feeling the same way and why? Pour répondre à ces questions, nous devons nous poser les vraies questions sur un enjeu difficile. Nous avons commencé ce travail. We have begun this work. I am so proud that the board has made good on a 2018 AGM resolution to commit to truth and reconciliation work. We have started to investigate the ways we supported and celebrated our members that were involved in key roles linked to residential schools, Indian hospitals, forced relocation, and the 60s scoop. I must admit, the preliminary work that was presented to the board was emotionally intense. But I look forward to the creation of an action plan for a path to true reconciliation work. Last year, the AGM asked the board to look into the union's equity, diversity, and inclusion gaps, both internally and politically. To begin this process, we conducted surveys of our staff as well as our membership. These surveys provided us with some key insights on how we can become a more inclusive union environment for all of our members. The board and the advisory council, your leaders, have made diversity, equity, and inclusion a key pillar of our strategic plan, because we need to make sure that the people who lead our union reflect the diversity of the members who are part of our union. And to help us with this work, we have hired our first Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Advisor. Nous continuons de soutenir le record collectif de fonctionnaires noirs, organisé par les membres pour la communauté noire pour contrer le racisme systémique dans la fonction publique fédérale. We continue to support the Black Public Servants class action lawsuit brought by the members of the Black community to address systemic racism within the federal public service. And we are doing this by offering not only monetary support, but also by making bold public statements. And you probably see I got to meet with the Reverend Al Sharpton, and there were some photos rolling through. And finally, I have created a care leave working group modeled after the very successful domestic violence leave working group. Thank you, AV Group. We are asking people with lived experience to help us identify gaps in collective agreements and identify discriminatory policies so that we can propose solutions to reduce those barriers. When we ask hard questions like these, the answers might also be hard to hear. But I am proud of the fact that we are asking them because now is the time to be braver. By asking these questions, it's the only way to create a space that we want. A space where everybody has a voice. And we all have the responsibility right now to be using that voice. We will soon be in a federal election before we know it. And with every election, the stakes are high. But we are not powerless to impact the direction that this country is taking. So what if, when you left here today, this weekend, don't leave here today, don't freak everybody out. What if when you left after the AGM and talked to your friends and your loved ones about the union issues, our union issues, that impact all Canadians? Talk to them about Bill 124 and similar wage restraint legislation. This bill has a negative effect on free and fair collective bargaining, but it also hinders the recruitment and the retention of key and critical public sector service roles, including nursing and teaching. Talk to them about the dangers of contracting out the work of the public service, like the waste of taxpayer money, and I had the honor of telling that to the government with VP Henshaw. It's immense. What could we do with all of that money that they've used to contract out? They're sidestepping key public sector values, such as equity, diversity, inclusion, les langues officielles, and regional distribution. Talk to them about the right to organize and that workers can demand better from employers who are making high profits by exploiting workers. Think about what we are seeing from companies like Amazon. Talk to them about defending and maintaining public science. Science that is not driven by profit. Science that is crucial to understanding societal costs, such as the things as fish stock collapses and climate change. Talk to them about the right to disconnect, about the blurred lines that are created now between our work life and our home life, and the increasing amounts of workload, and some of you are doing it voluntarily. I know you are, without an increase in pay, and the effects that that has on the mental health and the physical health of a worker. Et parlez-leur de l'inflation des salaires et du fossé grandissant entre la classe moyenne et les autres riches et les entreprises. Talk to them about inflation and wages and the growing gap between the middle class and the ultra-rich and corporations. That's a list of challenging things, and it seems pretty dire. But across the broader labor movement, we are seeing the biggest growth and fastest growth in unionization over the last 2 decades. So there's a lot of opportunity if we can re-engage our base. So how can we do that? We need to imagine new ways of engaging and deepening our connection between members and their union. I have witnessed regions and groups embracing these sorts of changes. I love when I see someone coming who brings a box of traveling games or musical instruments and songbooks to an event. They're linking fun and social interaction with the business of the union. We can also re-engage our base by sharing and promoting links to those webinars to ensure that this valuable and informative information reaches beyond those 7,473 members who participated in our live event. And those are actual members. Those aren't our sign-up rates. We can move to online lunch and learns to bridge the physical distance between our on-site and our remote workers. And we can consider family-friendly events like alcohol-free karaoke, which will take place Saturday night at the conclusion of our business. And if you're lucky, you'll hear a song from Sean. The presence of families in particular gives me so much hope for the future. Participating in events this weekend will help our children grow up learning about the power of the union, which will hopefully inspire them to become active in unions themselves one day. My own children grew up in this union, which was wonderful. Thank you, SP Group, for creating the space. But it was also a challenge and a struggle. And sometimes it is still. Many of us in this room are part of the sandwich generation and are navigating dependent care. But younger people want new ways of connecting. They don't want to sit around and complain. They want to participate in something that is uplifting and meaningful, and so do I. That doesn't mean that we don't look at the hard truths, but it means we create space for big solutions. Et quand je vous regarde et je ravie de penser à toutes les solutions que nous pouvons trouver si nous en unissons nos forces. I am thrilled to think of all the big solutions that we can come up with if we put our heads together. So as much as I want you to talk to your friends and family about our issues, I want you to talk to each other as well. Cette fin de semaine, assez de parler avec 5 personnes qui vous n'avez jamais raconté auparavant. This weekend, try to talk to 5 people, just 5, you've never met before. Ask them what brought them here and what they hope to get out of this weekend and from our union. In this room, I'm sure there are hundreds of visions for what PIPS could be, and I can't wait to hear yours. Thank you. Miigwech.